the members at the top use their leverage and their power to crowdfund essentially from the members at the bottom. I mean, you guys already know with my dad dying really suddenly 2 years ago, and then that's kind of also made me more aware of like how important it is as a woman in this world to make sure that you have a solid network and a solid fallback plan. Okay, so that includes everything from financial cushion to a network, because your network is your net worth, right? Having a solid group of friends, family, acquaintances, whoever, like people that are going to support you and catch you if you fall. And if you don't like the feeling of leaning on other people the way that I don't enjoy it, then your best bet is to make sure that you get to financial security as fast as possible, right? But sometimes if you don't have a significant head start, or again, you're not a Nepo baby and you weren't born with connections, that's why it's important for us to learn the art of social climbing, right? Because social climbing and being able to finagle your way into rooms that have high net worth individuals or higher caliber individuals in general, that's a really good skill to have. And it's really important for some women. For women that didn't come from a privileged background, I don't want to say it's like our only hope, but it's the biggest leverage that we can hope to have, right? If we play our cards right. So that's the angle that I'm coming from here. If I sense that I'm giving more than I'm receiving in return, and I feel like at any point that it's not worth it, I'm just going to remove myself from the equation. Like, I'm not about that dying and killing myself to prove myself to someone else. I'll only do something if I feel like it's worth it in the end for whatever returns that I can get on my investment of my time, my energy, and everything. And this is the most important part. It has to be like not a predominantly toxic dynamic, because there's going to be a level of toxicity. There's always the possibility of toxicity that arises in any group. But as long as the dominant energy of the group, or the pendulum, if you want to get really, really metaphysical and like manifestation talk, as long as the dominant energy of the group is like pretty even keel and tries to be fair and everything, then typically, like if I just intuit, because I rely on my own intuition. So if I feel like it's safe enough and it's a good bet or it's a good investment, I will stick around typically for a while just to see where I can get to. I'm not really in the market for best friends, but I'm in the market for like mutually beneficial acquaintances. Like, I want to only deal with people that we can benefit each other, whether it be through knowledge transfer, or we can hook each other up with opportunities to make more money, essentially. Because really, at the end of the day, I feel like that's all that matters right now, especially in this economy. And I don't care who wants to criticize or gaslight me for it, especially in this economy. I'm sure a lot of people can relate, but money is the only thing that matters to me now, in the sense that, like, if it doesn't bring me money, if it doesn't get me a bag, or if it doesn't significantly give me an experience that would have been the equivalent of a lot of money that I otherwise would not have been able to, maybe I don't have the money to pay for a certain experience, but if I meet someone that can connect to me to that experience, to where I can get in for free to a certain event that would have otherwise cost me a lot of money, then I don't see the relationship as worth it to put my energy in, quite frankly. And I'm tired of like having to pretend. I think this might be like the final boss of dismantling good girl syndrome. Even because for me, like, I haven't been a good girl and I don't identify with that. And I've undone that programming a long time ago. But the nature of the patriarchy is that it has ingrained this guilt programming and this good girl programming in all of us, to the point where it's really inescapable, right? And even if you are like very, very self-assured and you know your worth as a woman, this system that we live in will always find ways to like gaslight you. They're always going to gaslight you and make you feel like you're the one in the wrong. And you have to, like, no matter how much you know and you're confident in your own value as a woman, it does get tiring after a while to constantly have to combat like the energetic attacks on every level: friends, acquaintances, society, your job. And I'm just completely like not willing anymore to play the respectability game, so to speak. It is all about money. You know why? Because that's the system that we're forced to live in. We live under capitalism. So you're not going to gaslight me into thinking that I'm a bad person, or that I'm crass, or that it's not a good look, you look like a gold digger, all these things that they tell us, right? No, it actually is about money, because until the system makes it so that I don't have to worry about money every single waking minute of my life, then I don't see why I shouldn't evaluate every single thing that I am expected to do, whether it's a social obligation or whatever. I don't see why I should not evaluate that through the lens of how much of a bag is this going to translate into for me? Okay, this happens in every type of organization and at every level, essentially, because this is just what human nature tends to do. Like, everything is an MLM, basically, is the conclusion that I came to. So this pageant, right, it started in 2018. So a lot of the people that are involved in the organization of the pageant, and the ones that are giving walking lessons and the Chinese lessons, they are former pageant winners from yesteryear's contests. So it's been around for like 6 years, and then we're going into our 7th contest. Pretty much like almost all the senseis have won the Grand Prix in some area of this pageant in past years. So the Chinese sensei is one such person. She won a couple years ago. Now they're like the senpais of the organization, right? There are a few past pageant winners that are not even senseis or anything, but they have like a larger presence on social media. Maybe they're bona fide influencers or whatever. So I'm following all of them, right? Because you tend to meet like more and more of these people the more events that you go to. And I realized that if you're a contestant this year for the pageant, and this is like your first time entering, right? In order to maximize your chances of winning the Grand Prix, you have to ingratiate yourself with the winners that came before you. So if it's a sensei, it means that you have to take their classes. Also, in order to gain points towards your score in the actual contest, you have to pay for certain services, essentially, whether it be walking lessons or the Chinese lessons or the photo set taken by their official photographer. So you have to basically like support the activities of the senpais that came before you. And that's also where, they earned it, so it's not like they're exploiting in a bad way, but they utilize their power that they have being in a more senior position, right? Like being a previous pageant winner in this organization. They use that status on their socials to collect donations or support from up and coming hopeful winners that are entering in this year's contest. Does that make sense? So, like, for example, there's one previous Qipao division winner who also seems like a really nice person. I've actually never really interacted with her in person, but she has really good vibes from what I can see. Beautiful, but not pretentious. I think she has a pretty big following on Chinese social media. And anyway, so she has this, I don't know if it's a documentary or some sort of filming project that she's trying to do and raise funds for. So she put up links on her Instagram story about, please support my project. And then you can donate, depending on like what tier you donate at, you can get like a sticker or whatever. And I was not even aware of this at all until Red, you guys remember from my previous live stream, Red told me about it, and she was like, oh, I'm thinking about donating to so-and-so's documentary project, but I don't know, should I do like the 3,000 yen tier or the 5,000 yen tier? Me personally, I'm not doing all that, Like, no offense, good luck to you and your endeavors, but I'm not gonna just like donate money to you. I'm willing to pay for lessons, right? From the walking senseis and the Chinese sensei, because I feel like at least I'm getting something in return, but I'm not just gonna donate to someone else's project that I have zero interest in, and that, again, it's like no offense, but I just have zero interest in supporting your project financially. I would rather use my own money to support my projects, to be blunt. But Red, one of my shady friends, I guess, shady acquaintances that I made so far that I'm still not quite sure about in this whole pageant fiasco, she was like asking me my opinion on whether she should donate to the previous Qipao division winners documentary project, because she really wants to win. And so she's working like 10 times as hard as me to schmooze with everyone after hours, so to speak. I told her, you know what, girl, just go ahead and donate 5,000 yen, because obviously you're going to do it. So you might as well donate the amount that will get you a free sticker, right? Then you can plaster the sticker everywhere in your subsequent stories if that's how you want to play the game. But yeah, so in my case, actually, the Chinese sensei, I really like her vibes. Like, she is a really nice person, I think. And I went to a group lesson with her once. It was like a lesson / social gathering with her and like a bunch of other people that are doing the Chinese speech contest as well as the Qipao dress contest, like me. I'm also doing the speech contest, I guess, by default, because we have to all give a speech and send a video in. But yeah, I took a group lesson with her and also a personal lesson, because that's, you get an extra point if you do that. So I was like, again, I'm fine with that, because at least I'm getting a service in return, right? I could stand to improve my Chinese, so whatever, even outside of this contest, like, that would be a good thing for me. But then she asked me if I wanted to participate in this other non-pageant related thing that she was hosting, because she's a YouTuber. She's a full-time YouTuber, right? So she is holding this, she said it was a photo shoot, I guess, a social gathering as well. But it's being held at a photo studio. So I guess the main point is that we're going to get together and maybe like learn some Chinese and do a photo shoot. So I said yes to that. But like obviously it comes with a fee, right? Again, I said yes to her activity because I don't mind doing another exchange with her. But I realized that, you know, it's the same pattern with all of them, right? It's just the way that organizations work at any level, whether it's a company or a secret society or, you know, a pageant group. The members at the top use their leverage and their power to crowdfund essentially from the members at the bottom, the up and coming people or the hopefuls, right? The newcomers that they want to win the next title. They want to win the 2026 title of Qipao Queen or Kimono Queen or whatever. And so you feel the pressure to donate to, you know, whatever it is, the business ventures or the projects that these senior members are doing. And the senior members have no qualms. They're not shy at all about asking for support from the new hopeful members, because they know that there's that power dynamic in place, that the hopefuls, the ones that have not won anything yet, and they want a chance at the Grand Prix this year, they're hoping that the more that they donate and that they support these senseis activities or projects, or the more that they participate in the events that they throw, which all come at a hefty fee, the more of a chance that they have at winning the pageant. You know, again, the ones that I decided to participate in, I did it very consciously. Like, I know what the deal is, you know, so I'm not getting bamboozled. I'm very consciously deciding on what things that I'm willing to pay for and what things I'm willing to invest my time in. But there are also things that I'm not willing to invest my time in. But this is where the test comes in, right? Because they're going to try to push you. I think like after they saw that I had potential, right? Because I won, like in July, I won the Best Photogenic Award. And then in October, I won Best Performance for my Halloween costume. So they saw that I had potential. They've been progressively like asking me to participate in more and more things. And they have asked me more than once, actually, to participate in the drama, to which I've said no every time, tactfully, of course. But I'm not willing to donate that much of my free time, like, because I'm not interested in. Okay, I'm 95% sure, like, if I agreed to be a character in their drama, I would not like the way that they shot me. I'm a YouTuber. I'm a control freak about my image online. And I have every right to be so. I want to look a certain way. I want to have a certain level of glam, even though today, like, I have no makeup on because I just could not. But I do my eyebrows on, at least, you know. Yeah, I like to look a certain way. I like to be glammed up. I'm not going to be like, if they cast me as some sort of character that I feel like doesn't reflect the amount of fabulousness that is actually in my soul, I would have a problem with that, you know? What would be the merit in that for me? Unless you let me know specifically that I was going to be cast as like the most fabulous type of character, I don't see any reward in that for me. These are the types of characters I like. I like Fran Drescher in The Nanny. She was fabulous. I think she was like 40 when that series started. You could have told me that she was in her 20s on that show and I would have believed you. She was like so fit, such an icon. So that's the type of woman that I identify with, right? So I would only be okay with like The Nanny, or I'm thinking Hilary Banks from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. She was fab as well. Or Lucy Liu from Charlie's Angels. I like that. I like there was another one. And I have a whole list of, if they were to remake certain TV shows or movies, and if I had enough of a connection in Hollywood to where I would have a shot at any of these roles, these are the only roles that I would consider. Yes, I know. The Delulu is really great today. But no, there was another one. Lucy Liu from Charlie's Angels, Hilary Banks, The Nanny, Lois Lane. I think I would make a great Lois Lane. I didn't like the Lois Lane that they chose for the newest Superman movie. Sorry, not sorry. No hate to the actress, but I just don't think that she fit the character. She didn't fit my image of what Lois Lane was, so I think they should have cast me instead. How did we get on this topic? Okay, wait. No, there was one more. Oh my god. Dana Tan. If they ever made a live action of Batman Beyond, I would be okay with playing Dana Tan. Yeah. Anything other than those characters that I just listed, why would I do that? Like, even if you paid me, I wouldn't want my image out there like that, because you never know, the series might blow up and then I'm going to be stuck with people having this public perception of me as a character that I don't identify with at all. Like, what if they cast me as some mousy librarian, which there's nothing wrong with, right? If you identify with that look, or if you feel that that's your personality, that's great. But I don't want, even if I could, I wouldn't want to immerse myself in that role and then like have that show blow up one day and then people perceive me as like a mousy librarian for the rest of my career. And I have to fight for the rest of my career to undo that image. I'm not doing that, you know? So yeah, that's my very delusional reason as to why I refuse to do their drama series. But they asked me 2 times, and then when they couldn't get me to do the drama, they asked me to be a backing vocalist for the song performance on the day of the pageant after the runway portion. So I was like, okay, fine, if you really just need a few backup people and if there's no like audition process or anything. But now I'm thinking like, okay, even though they were very confused at the lesson and the teacher was like asking everyone to audition, but it wasn't actually an audition, because later on they were just like, hey, if you liked the lesson and if you're still interested, please let us know so that we can add you to the vocal list group, right? And it was free. So that's why initially I thought that, okay, let me just go ahead and do the stupid singing thing, since they see so much potential in me and they're like, they won't leave me alone. But now I'm thinking, should I just say no to that? Because this is another extra thing for me to memorize then. Like, I would have to memorize the lyrics of that random song, which again, I think it was a good song by pop standards. And, you know, like, no hate to the producer or whoever, the Chinese guy that taught our class, he wrote the song. Like, it sounds decent, but again, that's not the type of music that I listen to. So what's the point of me practicing a song in a genre that I'm not even interested in, and like taking more space in my brain to memorize the lyrics and all of that, when I could just concentrate on practicing for my walk and also practicing my Chinese speech, right? Which I already made headway on with the Chinese sensei at my last lesson. So I would rather, like, I just want to do the least amount of work possible to get something in return. That's my attitude towards life right now. And I'm not ashamed about it. And you're not going to gaslight me into thinking that I'm wrong or materialistic or whatever, or transactional. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Like, if you have a problem with me making everything transactional, I'm not talking about you guys, but I'm talking about like whenever people who are also brainwashed, they just are in denial and refuse to admit it. Whenever they try to like reason with me, so to speak, that, oh, well, you know, you shouldn't think of everything in financial terms or whatever. I'm like, actually, give me one good reason why I shouldn't. If you don't want me to think of everything in financial terms, why don't you take it up with the people that invented capitalism? And this is not even, I'm not saying that we should like not live in a capitalist system, because honestly, I don't have a better answer, but at least fight back against unethical employment practices, right? At least don't take it lying down. If you're like millions of people in my similar position where it's like, okay, yeah, we have a decent job, like we're getting by, but you know, I'm not building generational wealth anytime soon. Never say never, but with my current job, I'm not going to be able to build generational wealth with the current salary band that I'm on. So I have to think of something else in the meantime, right? Why shouldn't I make every interaction with me, or every tiny morsel that people get out of me, why shouldn't I charge for that? If I'm going to be forced against my will to live under this system, if you have a problem with it, take it up with the powers that be. Don't take it up with me. I'm just trying to get mine, you know? I'm like, should I just start serial dating again? Because just from a purely financial standpoint, it's expensive. It's too expensive to keep trying to like hang out with new female acquaintances, because you have to pay for everything by yourself when you hang out with another girl, because there's no guy to pay for you guys. And I just feel like the returns so far this year have not been worth it. Like, at least when I'm going out on dates with guys, even if they're not long-term potential or dating material at all, at least they always pay the bill for the dinner, and you know, they pick me up so that I don't have to worry about transportation. I don't have to like exhaust myself on the train trying to get to the location. Honestly, I think if you're a woman in this world, in this economy, if you're like me and you're just trying your best to improve your lot in life through your career, whether it's through your career or through a man or through social climbing or all of the above, I think until you get to that point where you may not necessarily be financially free all the way, but until you get to the point where at least you can like have options, right? You can have the option to say no because you have enough of a cushion backing you that you don't have to accept any proposals or jobs or whatever that make you uncomfortable or that you feel are not 100% aligned to you. Until you get to that point, I honestly feel like we just don't have room to be nice or charitable anymore. We need to find a way to monetize every aspect of your life. I'm being so dead serious. Like, you have to find a way to monetize as many aspects of your life as possible, or else there's just no other way to get ahead in this world. I know it sounds very bleak, but let's just start with recognizing the reality, right? Until you recognize and make peace with the reality, you're not going to be able to make a realistic plan or strategize effectively. So we might as well just pull the band-aid off and stop letting people gaslight us, follow our own intuition, you know? Like, my intuition is telling me that I can't predict what's going to happen with the economy or anything, but it's not looking good. And I'm not trying to fear monger or anything. I don't regret anything. I feel like, all things considered, I'm proud of myself, you know, I'm being kind to myself, all of that stuff. But if there's one thing that I would tell myself if I could go back in time, if there's one thing I could tell to my 20-something-year-old self, literally, like, save more money. Again, I can't change the past, so I'm not going to dwell on anything, but just thinking of the amount of money that I wasted, not even on, okay, I'm not going to count things that were impulse purchases for myself, right? Because those, at least at the end of the day, it was a decision to spoil myself. So even though some of those were like maybe unnecessary looking back, or I wish I would have just kept the money instead, at least the energy was me giving back to myself. I can accept that. But the amount of times that I spent money just to go with the flow, or like try to make it seem like I could afford a certain lifestyle, or that I could afford to just be out for hours at a time with a certain group of people because I wanted like a solid, it's not even that I wanted a solid friend group. I'm not sappy like that to where I want a best friend attached to my hip at all times. But like, I guess just being an only child as well, I always felt the pressure in a sense to build a tribe around me, right? Like, it is important. Sorry, this is bothering me. I feel like it's very important, especially as a woman, especially if you are like single or an only child. You don't have that many, and even though, like, yeah, I have my family and stuff, but they don't live in the same country as me. So I feel like, just thinking 10, 20 years in the future, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm left completely vulnerable or by myself, right? Whether you like it or not, you need to put effort into building a network for yourself, okay? Again, the ideal cushion for everyone, I think, would be money, but that's not the reality for most of us, right? Or it's not immediately attainable for most of us. Like, we can get there, but it's going to require a lot of strategy, which also involves putting yourself out there socially, which is tricky because it does deplete us energetically. So you have to strike that balance between like pushing yourself to put yourself out there and not burning out, which you'll be fine if you have a healthy amount of self-concept and self-honoring. But a lot of girls, like, again, they're not even at that point. And I just feel like I'm backsliding if I'm in the presence of anyone that's behind me in that aspect, right? Like, I'm immediately repelled by people whenever I see, like, especially women overextend themselves or burn themselves out for the sake of other people in order to try and control other people's perceptions of them. That's when I really recoil. That kind of behavior really, really repels me. As somebody who has done years and years of like self-work and self-reflection, and who has practiced radical self-love, I've been listening to Shira ever since she had only 60,000 something subscribers. She has 600,000 now, right? So my knowledge, like my knowing of how much the feminine is worth in this world is so rock solid. Like, most women are not at that level, especially in Japan. Although maybe I should stop saying that, right? Because it's kind of like I'm only going to find more of what I keep calling out. But I've been trying. That's the thing. Like, I have been trying to focus on the positive aspects of the new people that I meet. I've been trying to focus on their strengths. And in some situations, you know, like the 50-50 with a boyfriend thing, it pisses me off, because it's like, if you're going 50-50 with a Dusty, but I'm going out of my way to meet with you for lunch and I'm paying for your lunch, then I feel like I'm paying for their Dusty too. Do you understand what I mean? Like, by extension. That's why I'm very, very picky. I'm very anal when it comes to how I spend my money. What's the saying that people vote with their wallets, right? That's the quote. yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment. And I vote against 50-50 always and forever. So I feel like if I'm out to lunch with a 50-50 chick, then inadvertently I'm like paying for her dusty. And I rebuke that situation completely, okay? Jordan Sparks. Or no, Jordan, I forgot her last name. The one that was caught cheating with Tristan Thompson, Khloe Kardashian's baby daddy. Remember when she was like, I don't want your situation on the red table talk?
I don't need your situation.
That's me, okay? I don't want your situation unless you are at least as much of a succubus as me, preferably more, right? So that's why, again, I always end up gravitating towards the exotic dancers and the ladies of the night because, like, a lot of them are even more savage than me. They're ahead of me in the game when it comes to taking these men for all the money that they're worth. I feel like the energy is good when I'm hanging out with my midnight ballerina friends because I know that they would never pay for a single dime, okay, in front of a man. So that lets me know that our interaction, like the energy whenever we're together is very pure, even though we're splitting the bill or whatever. My soul can be at peace knowing that none of my money is somehow trickling back down to some dusty dude. You know what I mean? I don't care if you call me extra or extreme. I'm very, very passionate about this. I'm very much like a pure acolyte of Shira 7. Okay? And I don't apologize for it. Nobody has ever been able to convince me or like show me a convincing argument or example yet as to why we should not be this extreme when it comes to how we decide to deal with men. So far, Shira has been right about every single thing. And thank God that I followed her advice. I have never done 50-50, by the way, in my entire life. I've been in very toxic relationships, yes, but at least they were always paying for my rent. Okay. And the last guy, when he refused to pay for my rent, I got rid of him. I don't know. That's all I'm going to say on that. You know, I walk the walk. I don't just talk the talk. Like, I'm not one of these girls that just gets on here and preaches about, oh, sprinkle, sprinkle, because it's trending. I've always been about this life. Yeah, I've always been about this life, maybe inadvertently at the beginning, because I just like, I ended up in some of my longtime subscribers, you know, that I had relationships with 2 men in their 40s that were like twice my age when I was from the age of 19 to 22, 23. I was in 2 very, very dysfunctional relationships with men in their 40s. So they were twice my age. But then obviously that meant that at least they were paying, like every time when I was with them, they paid for everything, right? So this was before Shira was even a thing online. But then later on, like in my late 20s, so I didn't date anyone for pretty much all of my 20s. And then I discovered Shira when I was like 27-ish, maybe. No, actually, I think it was earlier than that because she's been online for a while. I'm 36 now, and Shira's been online for like, what, 15 years? So I think I discovered her in her 3rd year of uploading online, which would have made me about, yeah, like 25, 26. And yeah, you would be surprised at how many of the newer ilk of sprinkle girls online, half of them, like, first of all, I don't think 90% of them even know what they're actually talking about. And then some of them are straight up just scamming and grifting. Like behind the scenes, they're crying and paying for some loser guy or going 50-50 because they're very masculine when it comes to their approach to guys. Like they think it's about how cute the guy is, or they think that mixed signals means something when it actually means that the guy is just not interested in you. Like they have no idea how to actually vet or select the proper target. As Shira says, all these declarations that they make about how, oh, if he does this, then he hates you, or, you know, if he's not buying you a Birkin every month, then break up with him. It's like, yeah, right. I guarantee you that they're not. If they're with a guy that they truly liked and push came to shove, they would not have the actual balls to cut that guy off because he didn't fulfill some sort of like provider role in their minds. I'm thinking of like this one girl, I forgot her name. I think she's Muslim, or she's like half Muslim. I know that Muslim is not an ethnicity. So what? Okay, I forgot what the ethnicity she is. I'm so sorry, but she's Muslim. And she recently put out a series, like a 10-part series or something, about her really toxic ex-boyfriend, her ex-relationship of 10 years. I think she's 40 something now, but she talks about this toxic relationship she had with a Muslim guy, right? From her community, from like her early 20s to her early 30s. I think her name is Expired and Fabulous. Faiza Ramuni. I don't know if any of you guys know who I'm talking about, but she put out this series a while ago called The X-Files, talking about her entire toxic relationship with this guy from early 20s to early 30s. But then she said that she was like a relationship coach or something during that time. Like she had a very popular blog because she wanted to be a writer. And this was also like a point of contention in her relationship. You know, the guy was jealous of her success and tried to, not that she was even like super successful at the time, but the guy was very insecure and controlling, and he was like in debt himself. You know, he was trying to start his own business with his bros or whatever, and it was just not generating income. So he used her, like he manipulated her to get a job that was not in her field of interest so that she could help them pay the bills, etc. And he turned out to be physically abusive near the end of the relationship. But she stayed with him for like a total of 10 years. She said like in her series that she was a relationship coach for women in her community during this time. So she had a pretty popular blog back in the day, and she was doing like coaching to other Muslim women or other Muslim girls that I guess they were trying to navigate dating in America, like modern dating, but within the confines of their culture and their religion. She presented herself as like an expert and, you know, a leader in that area for other women. But I'm like, okay, but how do you feel comfortable selling yourself as a relationship expert or a dating expert online to these other girls? Meanwhile, you're in this abusive relationship with a guy that's using you for money and like putting his hands on you. I'm not saying that I don't have empathy for her. I think it's horrible that she went through that, but I also think that it's highly hypocritical for her to be positioning herself as a relationship expert or like literally giving counsel to other girls from her same religion and community, when meanwhile you can't even keep your own house clean. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't even, it took you 10 years to leave this guy, which again, I'm not judging her or faulting her for that. I'm glad that she got away in the end, right? And like I'm glad that she was strong enough to discover her own self-worth and put her foot down in the end. But it's like you should not have been coaching girls and making money off of a lie then. So that's what a lot of these sprinkle girls are doing these days as well on TikTok. Yeah, everyone wants the image, everyone wants the followers and the acclaim of being a sprinkle influencer. Everyone wants the instant gratification that you get from saying all these like radical things online about how you'll never cook for a man, you'll never do this and that, always have a roster of 5 to 10 men at least. And it's like, okay, but can you actually do it in real life? If you really liked a guy and you were dating him and things were going well for the first 5 to 6 months and you were really getting attached and falling in love, could you actually stick to your standards and cut him off though if he doesn't meet a non-negotiable requirement on your list? Because that is when shit gets not so fun, right? But that's where the actual test comes. Do you really believe in what you preach in? Do you really understand the importance of women holding their potential partners to a certain standard? Like, do you understand why this is a life or death situation? Or are you just regurgitating sprinkle quotes from Shira 7 because you think it sounds cool? Because I walk the walk and it's not fun at all, you know, when it's actually someone that you liked a lot and you saw potential with. But if he's not meeting the requirement, he's not meeting the requirement, okay? So that's what separates the real women from the girls, I think. Because a real woman can see, a grown woman, I should say, can see past the temporary emotions of like, oh, I'm falling in love and heartbreak and all of this stuff. You have to be able to see 5, 10, 20 years into your future. That's how you know that you really love yourself. You know how they always say that you should treat yourself the way that you would treat a child that you love, right? Like your own child, essentially. What are the lengths that you're willing to go to for your child? What would you do to protect her from the dangers and evils in this world? What would you do to make sure that she's not taken advantage of by a man or anyone else, by her employer? People like to say that quote because it sounds punchy and cool, right? But I see very few people getting to the very nitty gritty of what does that actually mean? What does that look like in a real life situation, okay? People like to say it like, oh yeah, you know, self-love. You should treat yourself the way that you would treat a child that you birthed, or, you know, a family member that you love. Whatever you would do for them, just do the same thing for yourself. Okay, but you need to get crystal clear and very literal with what you mean by that, or else you're not actually going to do it. Especially if you grew up people pleasing, if you're used to always putting yourself last, if you're used to bending and twisting yourself into a pretzel to conform to other people's expectations, you have a long way to go. And I'm not saying this to like deter people, but I really want you to wake up to the reality of how serious this is, how seriously you have to take this if you want to ascend and practice true radical self-love. So for me, when we take that phrase of treat yourself the same as you would treat your own child, that means I literally treat myself the way that I would if I was my own daughter. So for example, I would never let my own daughter be in a relationship with a guy that is not willing to take care of her fully, right? And under capitalism, in this world, you need money in order to be able to survive. Therefore, this is kind of the beauty of dealing with provider men that are healthy and they're not like insecure or anything, because there's plenty of rich men that are like insecure about women being gold diggers because they know that they don't have any game or anything attractive about them other than their money. But the ones that are healthy and they know that they have something of value to offer this world, they're not going to have a problem using their resources, aka their money, to take care of a woman that they really care for and are deeply attracted to. So hypothetically, as a mother, if I had a hypothetical daughter who was getting involved with a guy that, he's like doing the basic things, like he's picking her up for dates and he's paying for the dinners and whatnot. But if he doesn't keep ramping that provision up, though, like month after month, as they progress further into their relationship, I would tell her to leave him. Now, obviously, I would let her make her own choice at that point, but I would strongly advise her to leave him. Guess what I said to myself when I found myself in a similar situation where I was with a guy that was, paying for everything, but he was not willing to take the next step to be responsible for me financially, essentially. I made myself leave. No matter how painful, how heartbroken I felt in the moment, it would have been a much huger price to pay if I stayed. If I had stayed, I would have been telling myself subconsciously that you're actually not worth a guy doing more for you. You're actually not worth the conditions that you set earlier in order for a guy to be with you. And that would have slowly eroded away at my self-worth. It would have eroded my sense of integrity within myself over the years. Okay, so you have to be able to look at the big picture and how things would play out in the long term for the betterment of your life. If I had a daughter that was getting power harassed by her manager at her job, I would also tell her to leave immediately. Don't engage. Don't kowtow to people who are literally just agents of chaos. There are people that have difficult personalities, or maybe they're not like the most tactful when it comes to communicating in a work setting. Engineers tend to be like this because they're very otaku and they tend to just they're very focused on the technical jargon and whatnot. So their communication style might be a little rough or whatnot, but if you can at least tell that they just want to solve the problem the same way that you do, then you can learn to work with those people, right? And there's nothing, as long as it doesn't turn toxic, it will be fine. But there's a difference between that and somebody who is actually just out to cause chaos, like a manager that is just on a power trip, or he just wants to haze you and prove something, right? Flex his power by hazing his subordinates. That would be this type of situation that I would tell my hypothetical daughter to leave immediately. Don't worry about it. I got you while you search for something else, but I don't want you to stay in an environment like that for 1 second longer. And so that's exactly what I told myself when I found myself in that situation. I was like, I'm not sticking around for this. Oh, I will abuse a corporation in a heartbeat, okay? This is why, this is another ironic thing that I find with all of the laws and the proposed legislation that they're trying to pass right now in Japan to make things harder for foreigners. I feel like it sucks, and, Takaichi needs to slow her roll and calm the F down. But then at the same time, I'm like, I don't feel that bad about it because I have been using the Japanese labor law to benefit myself this whole time anyway. I have threatened to sue employers because they tried to lay me off. I have hired lawyers here in Japan, and because you're not allowed to, Japan is not an at-will employment country the way that America is. So I've worked for like a US company in the past where they tried to do layoffs just because profits were down that year, and but my contract was with the Japanese branch or the Japanese entity that they had here. It wasn't with the headquarters in the US, which means that legally they cannot fire me at will, right? Though try as they may, as much as they tried to coerce me into signing whatever document in the meeting, I was like, no, absolutely not. And this conversation is over. You will hear from my lawyer later. I had no qualms whatsoever about utilizing the full force of Japanese employment law to protect my ass. So I feel like, I can't control what laws they pass from here on out to try to make my life harder as a foreigner, but I sure as hell always knew how to use whatever laws did apply to my situation to my benefit, as long as I was an employee of a Japanese or Japan registered company, Japan registered branch of a US company that was my previous employer. So yeah, I have no problem like abusing companies right back if they want to try and pull that unscrupulous shit with me. We should all be having more audacity. Like, you should be exercising your audacity as if it's a muscle. Okay? Like you're a gym bro lifting in the gym. That's how much you should be exercising your audacity muscle every day. I'm so serious. Like, okay, so I just said that like I found value, ironically, more so through my work acquaintances this year than I have through my extracurricular acquaintances. Like, I didn't find it a waste when I went to lunch with them because I felt like at least this is with my manager only, just to be clear. Regular coworkers on my same level, no, not worth it to me. But and even like, okay, there's another manager that I work with closely. He's not my manager, but he's the manager of a certain IT team, and he's like really annoying to me. Although I can't figure out if he's gay or not. Like, is he gay or is he just Malaysian? I've been trying to figure this out for the past few weeks. But anyway, he's the one that has a bad habit of like touching my shoulder every time he walks past, which is not often because I'm never in the office. But I noticed that we went to a big team dinner after the wrap up of a certain phase of a project that I was hired to start in July, and it finally kind of wrapped up around the end of October. So we all went out, like my team and certain members of his team, we went out to a big group dinner, like Bonenkai end of year party type of thing, which again, I was fine with investing my time into that because at least there was like my manager and another like the IT director was also there. So I was like, okay, at least I'm being seen by important people. At least I have the opportunity to like, socialize with them in a more casual setting. But yeah, the IT manager guy was there too. And I noticed that he was not touchy-feely, but he had a bad, like he would always like hit my arm like this whenever he got too excited. He gets really excited like a chihuahua when he is talking. Super annoying to me. But anyway, I noticed that it wasn't just me. He was also doing it to my manager. We were literally sitting on both sides of him. So I was on his right and she was on his left. And he was like hitting her too repeatedly during his story because he couldn't contain himself. But I noticed like the way that he speaks, the affectation, it's giving queer to me. Again, I can't really figure out, is it Malaysian or is it gay? But anyway, I hope it's gay because at least that would make it like a little more, at least he's not interested in me in that sense. So I can look past the annoying characteristics, right? But he asked me to go over to his house for a house party that weekend as well. And I was like, no. Like, why the fuck would I ever go out of my way just because I had to sit next to you at a company dinner does not mean that we're friends or that you have access to me in that way. Even if you are a gay guy, I'm not in the market for a gay best friend. Like, I'm so sorry. Nothing personal. But again, if it doesn't make sense, CENTS, then it doesn't make sense to me. I'm all about the Benjamins or the yen. From here on out, from now until I feel comfortable enough with my money to where I don't have to think about it, it's only going to be about the money. I don't know what else to say. Either the money or something significant of value that I can get out of the interaction. Like, I'm not playing with the way the economy is going right now. I think we all need to hold on to whatever jobs we have. Okay. Don't listen to the people online telling you to quit and pursue your passion. Those people are lying to you. Okay. Because they, either they had an unfair advantage or an unfair leg up through their connection or their particular circumstances. They are them and you are you, right? So you are not guaranteed to have the same big break that they have. And also, I have a hunch that half those people are purposely trying to lessen the competition for themselves by putting out this so-called advice onto social media, because they know that young people, especially young women who follow them, are very gullible and easily influenced. And so they say all these reckless things like, oh, quit your job, sis. You're never going to feel ready. So just start, you know, you have to put your money where your mouth is, like quit your job and spend all your life savings starting a brand. And you can be like me and become a millionaire in less than 6 months. Like, no. Okay, do not trust anyone who tries to sell you a get rich quick scheme, especially not in 2025. Everything is an MLM, okay? That's just how the world is. So you have no choice but to learn the game and to beat them at their own game, essentially. At first, it's going to feel like if you can't win them, join them, which feels icky, I know. But like, trust me, it's better to do that for a bit so that at least you understand, you come out the other side understanding the inner work, like the actual powers at play in all of these social dynamics and business dynamics, so that you can make an educated decision at the end of the day as to what direction you want to go into, right? Because it's going to be different for every woman, right? Like you might go on your little social climbing journey and come out the other side deciding that you don't even actually want anything to do with these people. You find them all vapid and boring, kind of the conclusion that I'm getting to. But you know, my journey's not over yet, so I don't want to speak prematurely. But yeah, you might find that it's not even all what it's cracked up to be. So it's like, is it worth it if the people are boring? Like if they're not even the type of company that you want to keep anyway, you know, is it worth it to, what's the point, right? Because why would you even need the money to buy a Birkin or a Lamborghini or whatever to impress these people and be accepted in their circle if you, like, you have to figure out, are they up to your standards first? Okay, you need to retrain your brain. This is what I'm trying to teach you. Like, stop looking at yourself as below other people, or stop thinking of yourself as the one that needs to prove yourself. Don't believe the propaganda, okay? Obviously, don't act arrogant when you're in front of people. Like, make sure that you learn communication skills. Make sure that you learn how to be tactful in certain rooms and situations, but never lose sight of your true loyalty, which should be to yourself, you know? Never lose sight of the true end goal, which should be to improve your own situation and your own lot in life, okay? So you can learn to play the game to give off the illusion. You should learn to give off the correct impression to people that you're working to gain their favor, but always know within yourself, deep down, that's not the actual game that you're playing, okay? The actual thing that you're considering is whether or not they measure up to your expectations. Got it? Okay, I'm going to say this and I'm really going to go. Remember I told you in my last video about how pageants are spiritual and political warfare, about how I am only willing to put in a certain amount of effort. I'm aware of the level of effort that I'm comfortable with putting in if it's not guaranteed that I'm going to win the Grand Prix, right? Like I'm okay with, you know, doing all the exercise, like making sure I get in my 10,000 steps every day, making sure that my walk is on point. Like I don't mind investing in a couple of walking lessons here and there, a couple of Chinese lessons. I don't mind the exercise, obviously, because that's going to benefit me regardless of whether it's going to benefit me in my own just everyday life outside of this pageant. But I'm like I'm starting to teeter on the fence with this backup vocalist thing that they recently just asked me to do, because I'm like, okay, I was annoyed at their lack of coordination, quite frankly, at the lesson on Saturday. And I found myself thinking halfway through, like, what am I doing here? I could have literally been at home doing my live stream, like showing you guys my Zootopia 2 merchandise, which is what I wanted to do. And by the minute, it was sounding to me like the more worthy investment of my time. But anyway, yeah, so I'm wondering, like, okay, if I agree to be a backup vocalist in this performance and I still don't get the Grand Prix, I might be kind of annoyed at that point. Obviously, if I get the Grand Prix, I would feel happy and satisfied because I'd be like, okay, it was worth like the extra annoying effort that I had to put in. But if I put in this effort and it doesn't get me any sort of significant prize, I can sense that I'm going to be annoyed at that. Yeah. So I could either quit while I'm ahead, or I don't know. What do you guys think? The only reason that I decided to give them a chance with the backup vocalist thing is because they told me that it was free to join the vocal performance. Because, you know, the drama is not free for people that have less than 10,000 subscribers on social media. Like the drama participants have to pay 50,000 yen or something, which I was shocked to learn, but that's what Red told me. They asked you to do something extra. Maybe they wanted to see more of you. Yeah, I think that's a good sign, you know. If they want to see more of me, it means that they think that I have potential or whatever. Again, I don't care about what they evaluate me as, but it's a good sign. I think if they want to see more of me, it means that I'm like, I guess, well received or respected in the organization, which is great. You know, I like the overall premise of the organization, cultural exchange between Japan and China. It kind of speaks directly to my own unique identity and stuff. So I like what they stand for. I like the activities that they're doing, but just the pageant, this one in particular, this large pageant in January, I'm just like, okay, some of y'all are doing too much, you know? Like some of the contestants, again, I'm not knocking them for it. Who am I to tell people what is worth pursuing in their lives, but some people are doing like way too much for my taste. I'm questioning if these are even the type of acquaintances I want in my life at all. And of course, the senior people, like the senpais, they do have more value in terms of, I mean, sorry to put it this way, but in terms of like clout and more social pull. But again, in order to get into their orbit, you have to pay more money basically. It's pay to play in a sense. Like you have to support their projects, you have to pay money to attend the events that they throw, things like that. So again, if somehow I were to win the Grand Prix in the Qipao division, then I would become eventually one of the elders or the senpais in the organization. So I could then use my power to like try to fund some of my activities, but I don't know if I'm even interested in that because I would have to do it in a way that is like palatable to them, right? And I have a feeling not all the topics that I discuss, not even like my viewpoints themselves, would necessarily be considered, you know, PC by the organization. But anyway, yeah, I'll update you guys.